Oh man, take it easy. Yeah, that is a good call. Thank you, Obi, for that one, man. We come over here. We run from one desk right over here to another. Man, Adara.
Man.
Ooh. That was wild. So you
fun.
went. So your first meme day was yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that tongue out there means bad. How was today? Were you trading any of these names?
I did, and unfortunately, they were all my worst stocks.
Okay.
But I did have some good trades on Nvidia. This is my first time trading Nvidia in the live, and that was kind of what I realized yesterday. I went in the sim, had some Nvidia trades, and it was like, why am I not trading like this in the live?
Right.
Like pourquoi? Pardonnez-moi. So now I'm just trying to trade what worked in the sim, do that in the live. Learned a lot today. Excited to come kick it again tomorrow. Bless you, Ramin.
Thing is, I noticed about Ramin, she's always sneezing like, wow, so then we had to say bless you. So then we could say her name again. She really wants her name as much as she can in the pod.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Thank you. All right, so GameStop right now in the after hours, starting to go back into the downside right now. Here comes GameStop back down to 47 and change, giving a little bit of this up. But what we're going to talk about early, and we're going to go to the rundown right now. I did. I pushed. Well, because you're a little too busy over there, Ramin. Oh, no. There's a button on here that's, okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'll never hit that button again. Right now, the rundown, so it is meme season right now. But this is sector recap first, so there was meme season. We will talk a little bit about that. Let's go over some sectors just real quick. The interesting one here to look at for me anyways, we did have the marijuana ETF, and the reason why we talk about that being a little interesting was, again, a lot of names stuck here are also squeeze names. So nice move up there for MSOS today. And if we flip this over into a daily chart, you can see still stuck in the middle. But if we're gonna play meme squeezes, what about looking at the marijuana stocks? Nice move up today, up 2%. What was down? Unfortunately, Adara, we could talk about past earnings. Maybe you wanna get the Alibaba numbers quickly and we can maybe run those down. Alibaba, downside move there into $79. Had a nice move up. Again, not a great revenue number for Alibaba. Didn't talk horribly about the business, but again, Adara, back down here to the 200. What do those Alibaba numbers look like? Sending FXI, the big China ETF, to the downside.
Actually, it's the opposite. Revenue was good.
Okay.
EPS was a little bit bad, unfortunately, here. They did also announce annual regular cash dividend for 2024. So about 12.5 cents per share here, or for American Depository share. They also said they're preparing the primary listing in Hong Kong, but in terms of the numbers here, we did get adjusted EPS in RMB here, going to be 1.27. Revenue, though, about 874 million RMB. But yeah, like I said, the issue here was 86% year-over-year decrease in profit. That was the big problem there with Alibaba.
All right, shout out to Chef Joe if you're watching. I'm sending you a message right now as he gets going. So yeah, that was the problem there with Alibaba. Thanks for clarifying that. But there's FXI and Alibaba downside. This is the China 100 ETF. So you're going to get the top 100 names there in China, and then pulling back. For the K-Web is more the internet stock. So again, this one down again today, 0.9, as they all get hit. And then today, USO pulling back just a little bit as well, as we saw some negativity come through in the oil and energy space. So that is, again, USO downside. We could take a look at XLE, the services side of things. I actually like this for the energy sector. Not bad little look, trying to hold the 50-period moving average. I don't mind this one. We do have Brian Shannon come on. Let me just drop an anchor down here at these lows. So we still have 90 bucks coming into play. Often when you're doing these lows and you have this much data, you will get close to the 200 period. So let's watch out for that today. But look at the upside today. I mean, we had a bad print early, right? We talked about that with CPI. The CPI print, PPI print, came in there 0.5 versus 0.3. So if we're going to look over here at the NASDAQ, which is now basically just a stone's throw away from all-time highs. We probably get that tomorrow on anything good. But look at this wick down, Adara. What a disaster it was early, and then we just kept climbing back. I mean, even if we zoom this back out into like a 3-minute chart, you'll see almost instantly bought back up, right? 3-minute chart. The very next 3 is back into that. Then you close the gap, you fill that little close there, and then after that, we're back to the races. Bouncing off the 200 period is the NASDAQ today. So again, ARK having a good day. Surprisingly, a lot of people, we know Brian doesn't like ARK, so I won't mention that to him. The NASDAQ there, 0.6, IBB upside. Have we got any reports flying through? I know there's not any big numbers coming
Supposed to be Rumble.
today.
I'm going to see
Rumble's
if we got
out?
anything on Rumble. I'm waiting to see if it's out, but we're supposed to get it at 4:05, so we
Looks
should
like
have
it's
it.
going to the
We
downside.
did get it. Okay, so Q1 revenue, 17.7 million. I believe that's lower than the expected. I'm going to check that. We did get, though I know this is lower than the expected,
Right.
EPS here. 21-cent loss. I know we expected 19-cent loss, so that is going to be a miss. They said they're going to continue to move materially towards break even in 2025. So the comments coming there from Rumble. Also worth noting, last night, so less than a day before their earnings report, they filed a suit against Google for some ad competition concerns. So that's another thing to keep an eye on with RUM contextually in addition to earnings.
I'm going to have a big shout out right now to a fan who's watching right now. First of all, shout out to Chef Joe, and a big shout out to Olivia's in Farmingdale, New Jersey. So let's go bang on that one. Big shout out. His name is John. He's watching the show. He's loving it. Shout out to Chef Joe. It's always a good idea to make friends with chefs. You know, lots of benefits there. Shout out to everybody. Thanks, Chef Joe and John. So shout out to you guys there in Farmingdale. Yeah, Rumble downside right now, down to 680, starting to make lows for Rumble. Not too bad. We did have that expected move. What did you say the expected move was? Let me just check that out quickly. Expected move on Rumble, 10.5. So not much going on there. Where's the short float? 17% short with days to cover of 12. So we've learned that that's something special as well. So that's a high number. Would have been nice for them to beat. We'll see what happens now with the Rumble. Potential bounce play tomorrow in and around $6 for Rumble if we get down to the 200 period on 12 days to cover and 17% short. So as we looked at some of these indexes today, the Jets ETF, nice upside move again. We talked about this. Why bother investing in individual airlines when this holds all of them? All the top names, unless you got some sort of, feeling about American or United or Delta. Do you really care?
I personally do not.
As long as it's a Boeing, right?
Oh yeah, as long as it's a Boeing, and as long as it's maybe not Spirit Airlines. Maybe we don't want to save in terms of stock perspective anyway.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I don't have a preference.
Yeah, I don't have, no, for me, no. If it's a Boeing, I'm going because I need to get the heck out of here. No, I don't.
Sounds a little bit.
I was thinking this week too. I was like, man, maybe I'll take a day off. It's beautiful weather.
Yeah.
No. Taking no day off. You see
It
this
means
market,
we're like,
baby?
Shawn, you have to stay.
Yeah, no,
Shawn,
we have to be here to trade. These are the best moments to trade. And that's the thing about you going from sim mode into live mode, and then all of a sudden you're experiencing this. You mentioned today, Adara, that it's like an emotional kind of mind, the word I'm potentially looking for, and you have to. I trade P&L, so you can imagine how crazy that is sometimes when you're seeing that light up. But I think the most important thing for you to do is just lower your shares and trade the setups, and don't even worry about live or sim mode because that has really no bearing on anything. That's the biggest problem for many traders is when they start to level up and they say, you know what, I'm live, but I'm only trading 100 shares. I want to trade 200 shares. So what is that next sort of hump that you have to get over? It is a mental sort of game that you're playing with yourself. Yeah. Sometimes it is best to hide that P&L.
I think I need to do that.
And just trade based on what you see. Because the best part, I don't know if this is the best part, it hasn't happened to me in forever, but you get auto-flattened anyways. So when you hit your risk level and the shares just come out, then you've hit your daily loss limit. So as a beginning trader, that's not a horrible thing to hit your loss limits because it means that you're kind of pushing the envelope. And I actually like that as beginning traders. Just don't do it on a lot of shares. Take your lumps early, understand the strategy, even go back into simulation. And I know that our guest Brian and I have very, very similar thoughts on all of that. So we could talk to him about risk management any day, I am certain. But one thing we're going to do before we call on Brian is let's just take a look at today's heat map. There isn't an overwhelming number of opportunities for earnings today. So what we'll talk about here was we did have major indices work their way to the upside on what was obviously a very eventful Tuesday, including talks from Google. They had their AI event. Fed Chair Powell spoke at 10 o'clock. Alphabet landed at 1 o'clock, I believe it was, for their event. The highest PPI print we've had in over a year, with core PPI and PPI each rising 0.5% for April. Fed Chair Powell echoed many of his earlier sentiments there with a Q&A on the foreign bankers in Amsterdam. They're saying the current policy is sufficiently restrictive. So when I hear stuff like that, I think, what about the banks? Well, the banks go, hey, we only have a few green names today. CB is down there, down here, well, and of course, what is this? DLR downside. But all the big boys, Morgan, AXP, WFC, Burke was down, JP Morgan, Bank of America, all to the upside. So they took the news as good. Amazon as well, trying to get back to all-time highs, going upside. Google on that event, I mean, boom, nice upside move for Google today as well. So far, so good here as we go. But yeah, good movements today. Q's upside, SPY upside. And if you're going to look at the spiders and you're going to look at it daily, we are now, I mean, I'm seeing like basically all-time highs here of the SPY at like 524, 525. We're at 523 right now. So we could sneeze and push all-time highs, which who would have thought, Adara, and we're going to talk to Brian in a minute about this, who would have thought that we would have had all-time highs considering we've had 0 rate cuts?
It's crazy.
And the Fed has come out to us and said, as of today, the policy seems sufficiently restrictive. So they may not do anything heading into the new year unless we get that print tomorrow that is way hotter than expected. If that is cooler, then they might just be like, hey, we're fine with where we are, leading me to think that this market doesn't even care what the Fed does. I mean, maybe a cut signals weakness in the economy. That could be taken as a bad thing. I don't know. I'd still like a couple cuts.
That'd be nice, yeah.
That is for sure. Is our guy ready? Yep. That is Trader Talk. Let's bring him on. It's Brian Shannon. Whew. Man, Brian, I am exhausted. My number one P&L name yesterday, GameStop. Today, GameStop. It doesn't seem to matter what's moving around. I like to trade price action, and I know a trader like you does that as well. We trade price action. We trade what we see on the charts. Have you been able to see anything these last couple of days, or have you been more hands-off, sort of letting this all settle down?
No, I've been involved in those names as well, Shawn, but on a much smaller basis. I've got some really nice swing trades that are working for me, and you know, when I'm in that position where I have some nice swings working, and then I see other things going a little bit crazy here, it's fun to take the day trading hat off the shelf and get in there and mix it up and make some money.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild one. I was muted there. Sorry, Brian. It's been a real wild one here on the show because I really today just focused on AMC and GME. But I know a guy like you, and we've had Michael Noss on from Trade Ideas as well, looking at scanners and really looking, and I know this is what you've talked about on our show before as well, looking for specific setups that might be part of this game. So has there been, you just mentioned looking for different things, and I can see right now you have a stock up that we haven't traded, I don't think, on the show. Do you want to talk a little bit about Car Gurus?
Actually, you know what? I just had that on. I did get long this stock today. I wasn't really planning on talking about it, but I got involved at $24.25. You can see on this daily chart, it's got a nice look to it. The earnings are out of the way. And the weekly chart, it has some room, I think, to run up towards that 27 level. So that's when I got involved in today. And here's the shorter term time frame. It kind of did a whole bunch of nothing to start out and then closed strong. So that's nice to see. But I did want to follow up, Shawn, on two things we spoke about last week.
Perfect.
One, as you know, I was getting long Ethereum, and Ethereum has since broken down, which is why I mentioned that the stop that I was going to use was 29.75. We're now at just under 2,900. So Ethereum no longer of interest until it sets up again.
I mean, I have ETHE here because we were still on CarGurus here. But if you come over to my screen right now, we did talk about that breakdown. The thing that was interesting to me is the most was when you talked about it potentially turning into the ETF, and then there was that premium built in. So I think when we get that, maybe it's a trade when we get that announcement, and then we can start like the official stamp of approval. Then we can maybe start buying some Ethereum. But I still like the trade. But again, it broke your parameters. So obviously you got out of there, and I can see right now that sort of anchor that you dropped, I guess, on the 13th. Is that a weekly anchor that you have there on your charts?
The week to date, I always have on there. Sure, that's the, you know, which is now a 2-day volume weighted average price.
Right.
And that black one over there is the month to date. So, you know, what's interesting, Shawn, is it's still in a downtrend. I mean, it's trapped underneath that 20-day moving average. So I was looking for a bounce. I don't think the real trade, you know, the real bigger move comes until we get this 20 above the 20-day moving average, even above the flat to rising 50-day moving average in Ethereum. So that bounce trade is out of the way. Here's something I pointed out last week, just not in fun. If you keep this one in your mind, just take a look at Ethereum, ETHE, and then look at AMD. I mean, they've been trading almost perfect together, which you know, some people try to make these trades that, you know, this one trades off of that one, but they obviously have nothing to do with each other. But it's just interesting to see.
I've often sort of made the correlation as well that as the NASDAQ goes, you've seen the crypto market go as well. If the NASDAQ pulls back a little bit, crypto tends to pull back. However, NASDAQ being now near all-time highs, Bitcoin still hovering around that 61, 62. So maybe there is potentially a separation there, but I do like sort of looking at that. Brian, you can't, I know you're great on the fly here. I'm going to ask you about GameStop. Everybody in the chat wants to know, where are Brian's levels of concern, maybe to the downside and to the upside? I've just highlighted right here for me, just a simpleton coming through. We held $40 today. So that was a level right there that I'm thinking we jumped up there. We had that marker, huge move in the pre-market. Forget about all this. I mean, we know you can't halt in the pre-market. There's going to be some upside. But again, maybe as you look for different price levels, we can indicate something up there in and around 70. But for me, I think as long as we hold 40, we could possibly see some more upside. But let's not get too carried away right now. We do know that this is obviously fueled by some sort of a roaring kitty sitting from here to here in his chair. So I don't know if this is going to extend anymore, but for me, I'm going to have it on our sticky note tomorrow as long as we're above 40. Is there anything that interests Mr. Brian Shannon at Alpha Trends on GameStop?
Well, I think, you know, you look at the week to date volume weighted average price, and we came down and probed that today, and that's where it bounced from. So once you start to bounce away from that level, you want to look at your anchor off of that low. And you can see that on this 15-minute time frame, we didn't close below that. So we were finding buyers along that. And then we got back above the volume weighted average price from the open just here at the end of the day. After hours, I see we're up at 54, so still getting a little bit of bounce. I think tomorrow, if you saw something like this, that it maybe bounces a little bit in the morning, sells off, comes down to this level, recaptures the 1 and 2 day VWAP, then you're off to the races again. Otherwise, you know, instead, if it does this, well, then get the hell out of the way, because it could get ugly to the downside.
Yeah, good call on that one. I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat who are like, some are bulls, some are bears, but that's just crazy when you analyze some of these moves. We actually flipped over and traded some AMC today as well. That was wild. 13 down to 6, closing in and around 7. An absolute monster day for some of these crazy, crazy stocks. I'm going to pass you over to Adara, who has a quick question about an earnings play.
Yeah.
Hi, Brian. So we do have Walmart earnings coming on Thursday before the open. It's actually going to be their first report since that split we had in February. Do you have any thoughts on this stock heading into that report? Any potential plays there?
You know, it tried to break out yesterday, it looks like, but couldn't hold that. I kind of view Walmart as just a slow, steady grind stock higher, not really the best trading opportunity in there. If we get a deeper pullback down towards the year-to-date anchor, that's at about 58, then I think that's probably where you'll see it try to find some support and then perhaps bounce up. But basically, I'm not really too interested in looking at Walmart personally, Adara.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you. Appreciate you looking at.
Look
for us.
You know what scared me? Sorry to interrupt there, Brian. Was that this Walmart, this RSI, and we talked about this with Michael Noss yesterday about RSI and how it can be looked at differently and whatnot. But if you come over to my screen here, just real quick, we do have a move down in the RSI on Walmart on the daily. Meanwhile, we're still kind of holding these highs. Like that to me is something. Does this mean anything to you? I mean, we're bouncing off some of those 70 levels. Textbooks will tell you 70, 75, 80, depending on where your settings are for RSI. But we topped out there, and then now we're kind of still near those highs in and around 61, 62, although you just said we failed at that top, which was correct. But now we're starting to head to the downside. Is this a worry spot at all? I know it doesn't interest you too much, but I'm worried. I was thinking about getting into Walmart. I'd rather wait for the report and then see the reaction. Any comments on RSI there like this?
Well, two things. One, I would wait for the report as well. And then the RSI, it's a good tool to use, and it can give you sometimes an early warning. I don't know if you saw my tweet today, Shawn, about the volume, and I put the SPY up there. I said, here's my poem about volume, only price pays.
Right.
When you look at the SPY and the volume we've seen on this rally the last 2 weeks, this market has rallied very nicely, 5%, but the volume has dropped off almost every single day. And a lot of people say, hey, yeah, but it's up on low volume, so it doesn't count or whatever. But as a trader, price-based trader, only price pays. And that's a good reason to look at the market and say, hey, maybe something's going on underneath the surface, and I need to be a little bit extra alert that we might break down. But until prices do actually break down, the low volume is just an interesting thing to talk about on Twitter, if that's what interests you. I'm personally not interested. I'm interested in, hey, prices are going higher. We're still above the rising 5-day moving average. Doesn't matter if it's heavy volume, light volume, or somewhere in between.
So I'm dropping, excellent point. And make sure everyone follows you at Alpha Trends. I mean, I didn't even recognize that. That's awesome. I get nervous when I see that because it's right. Why are they not coming in and putting up the same share size that they were in the past couple weeks and days into this rally? Very, very interesting. I like that look for sure. I just dropped, Brian, an anchored VWAP on a big stock that has yet to report. It is next week. It is May 22nd. It is Nvidia. Was that dramatic enough? So if you come over to the chart there, I just dropped a year-to-date anchor on this one. You nailed Nvidia many times on this show before. I think it was 460 or something. You were live. You're like, you know what, guys? It could bounce off this 460, and it did exactly that. But Brian, on here, we've already bounced, from what I can see on a year-to-date anchor VWAP, right here in April 19th. What a crazy move that was, and it nailed it almost to the dollar at 750. Now the bounce back to the upside again with I know I keep talking about RSI, but that's starting to go back to the upside. We're bouncing off the 50-period moving average. I don't know if there's you're probably going to be able to find a better chart, but if to go long, I really think this is sort of gearing up for that run at 1,000. Nice bounce there off the anchor, holding the 50-period over this week. Now it looks like we want to get higher. How does Nvidia look to you heading into earnings?
Yeah, it looks great. It's forming a little launch pad is what it looks like to me, just the last 6, 7 sessions. And it's holding above the anchor from both of these highs earlier in this year, the one on March 8th, and then this high over here on March 25th. The purple anchor is from the 8th, and the red one is from the 25th. As you mentioned, you've got the 50-day moving average, you've got the 20-day moving average in there. So this becomes a very important level for it to hold. It's this prior band of resistance, which had been support as well. So, breaking from here, it just looks, it almost, what, Shawn, when the charts look this good, they kind of make me nervous, because they look too good to be true.
Right.
But accept them at face value. And Nvidia, certainly has the fundamentals to back it up, and looks like buyers are back in control and getting ready, like you said, to push it out towards 1,000.
It's funny because even today when Google has their AI event, they're just talking like, all right, we've just bought all these Nvidia chips, we're building on top of them. And it's just like, okay. I just want to give a big shout out to you on our chat. We have over 3,000 watching right now. And Rivian Millionaire, although me and you went back and forth about Rivian last week, Brian, and I appreciate that note that you sent, but Rivian Millionaire rate says that Brian has really changed the way he bought stocks. The anchored VWAP has changed the way he's bought in stocks, and he wants to say a big thank you to you Brian for that. So Rivian Millionaire on our chat. And here it is right here. Come over to my screen. And I know you never asked me to do it, but there it is right there. Anchored view up. Go grab that right now on Google Play. I just clicked on the link in your Twitter X, I guess, right there. So go
Thank
find.
you. And Shawn, I'll point out, I was not bullish on Rivian. I said I
Right.
wouldn't trade it for a swing trade, but it's
No.
up, quite nicely, actually, about 20% since then. So kudos to you. You were saying you liked it as a swing. I said I wouldn't go near it because it's got the declining moving averages. But
Hey.
you know what? I didn't lose any money on it. Hopefully, I didn't cost you any.
People know around here, sometimes I like when I get the credit. So that would be a really good one right there. Thank you for that, Brian, for bringing that up. But you know what? We always say this, the sun shines on, some part of your body twice a day. So maybe that might have happened right there again for us today. Okay, just quickly before, and again, thank you so much for joining us on such a busy day. Was there any names that potentially maybe you've just gotten into, or is there a stock that you've brought into our attention or the last little while that you want to talk about? Something maybe in the therapeutics, you've talked a lot about that on the show. So is there anything right now that you wanted to sort of identify to our viewers that you're potentially looking at here moving forward?
Yeah, so a couple things about that stock, TGTX, Target Therapeutics. They reported earnings at the beginning of the month, actually the first day of the month, and that was on May 1st. And the thing is that coming into that earnings report, there were 35.7 million shares short, and we spoke a little bit about the prices that they established those short positions at. We just got the new short interest numbers on May 9th. So it's kind of crazy, Shawn, and really kind of annoying that when you look at short interest numbers, the short interest numbers were released on May 9th, were from the date of April 30th. So as of April 30th, so between April 15th and April 30th, they went from 35.7 million shares to 37.8. So they added another 2.1 million shares from the 15th to the 30th. So that can't feel good. But we don't know what happened in here. And that's kind of annoying that the short interest data is always stale. The good news is, though, with 37.8 million shares and 26% of the float, they're not out of this thing. I like this stock up to the low 20s, probably to hit a new year to 52-week high here in the next coming weeks. I think it can do it with that big short position. So I'm holding on to my long position in here, and actually I will look to I'll trade around it a little bit, but I want to get a little bit heavier actually.
No, I do like that. And thinking about it too, it's in the right sector because, I mean, if they announce something here, TG Therapeutics engages in the acquisition, development, and commercialization of novel treatments for B cells. So, I mean, at any day, maybe something happens with them. So I really like that look there. And here it is right there, shows that it's saying 154 million shares. So, okay, I mean, great time today. Oh, I don't want to show you this. ARC today up 2%. We were talking about that earlier.
That's because all the garbage was rallying.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, we've saw a lot of different rally names today, including different ones like Affirm was starting to go to the upside. We saw FFIE, some of these other names. I don't know if they're involved in Faraday Futures, but again, some names starting to go. ARC. It's funny that you can't short ETFs. I guess there's an SARC. As ARC, we know, to get into that, so you can get into SARC for sure. All right, I mean, I'm not going to take Q&A. There's so many on the chat, but we got to wrap this thing up in and around 4:30. One more thing I wanted to ask you about. I see you're flipping around there. We did have some people, so I'm just going to cherry pick you right now. Coinbase looks like it's breaking. It didn't take too long to get back down to 200 now, did it? And I know that Bitcoin has also fallen back in, but here comes Coinbase. There's another stock like Mara that I know a few of the traders were trading here today. Some of these names pulling back into some levels. We have Hut 8 tomorrow reporting as well, coming into some lows. What does this look like? And I know you've talked about Ethereum and we sort of got off that trade, but Coinbase I can see coming into some key levels as well, around 200. Are all of these stay away for now and just watch BTC? What do you think about Coinbase or anything else in this space?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty difficult for these things to make any headway with Bitcoin under pressure still. Bitcoin's still holding that anchor from the year-to-date low. But I think it's likely, the more times we hit on that, it's likely to come down towards about 57,000 at the year-to-date anchor. The one good thing about Coinbase is it's holding the year-to-date anchored VWAP. I'll tell you a crazy story about Coinbase is that our favorite fund manager loaded the boat way over here. and has an average cost basis of about $250 per share. And that fund manager took their position from 8 million shares to 4 million shares over here, sold a few at a profitable, but is continuing to sell there. So
Right.
complete round trip, didn't even break even on it, and still one of the largest positions in that fund that you had mentioned previously.
I mean, there is a point too of being wrong, but then staying wrong, right? And so we'll
Yeah,
see it. We'll see if that can rally. And of
great
course,
consistency. You got to admire it.
you got it. You have to. Okay. On that note, maybe she's long GME. We'll find out. We'll find out. Maybe that's part of the push up there. But thank you so much. Anything you want to talk about? Do you have anything? Any live streams coming up or anything?
No, I've got nothing going on. It's just looking forward to being here with you guys next Tuesday again, Shawn.
Perfect. Well, hey, maybe we'll get you on even earlier. Thank you so much, Brian. Again, everyone can go find you at Alpha Trends. That's Brian Shannon, of course, a great friend of the show. Everyone stays late, as real traders do, and I appreciate for you doing that with us right here. It's Brian Shannon. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon, Brian.
Thanks, Shawn. Thanks, Adara.
Ciao. That's Trader Talk, baby. I mean, you just want to talk about a class act, honestly.
Yeah.
You can bring up anything to this guy. I'll give you the goods, talk all about that. And then as you can see, that TG Therapeutics, I think that does have a great chance. Good analysis there about the short float, adding to it, and potentially getting caught into a squeeze. And I don't want people to mistake the fact that it's also that sector too, because you know when you're in pharmaceuticals, literally anything can happen, and the next thing you know, you're a buyout candidate or you've reported something and it is off. I mean, that could happen in any business. But,
That's true.
Tends to be more in that sector than others. And I know that for firsthand because Neil, and he talks about this on the show, will sometimes trade buyouts. So a lot of those companies get bought out. So you could definitely see 60% increase, something like that, and all of a sudden, you know, the shorts are like, uh-oh, what are we going to do? So right there, thank you again. A big shout out to Brian for coming through with that one. All right, on today's sticky note, we didn't even have a monster sticky note whatsoever today because we were scrambling. We were just saying, hey, there's the walk, talk, and stock. Go find that out right now. Oh, 3,000 viewed that. Thank you so much for that. Today was really, really simple. Missed opportunity today, 21.25 break on Palantir. AMD short, nah, that didn't really work. It worked late. We wound up on AMD. We'll talk about that in a minute. But then AMC, we just had to focus here, and we could talk a little bit about that. Watch the 13 long break as a possibility, but generally keep focused. We were logged 1034 early. The Google event up there and the hot PPI event. Market down, bearish. Well, market finished at the highs. So for some of those comments, we'll slap a fail on it. But I just want to go over some AMD real quick because to me, we've already talked about AMC. We've talked about GME. Those were huge trades today for sure. And we were up on the meme stocks. This was interesting to me because AMD started the day, huge move down. And the reason why we liked 5150 was just kind of into here. These were some of these tops just kind of stuck in here. I just thought that if we're going to open the day down here at 149, a nice little bump up into some of these areas was what we wanted to short. But what we want, sometimes we don't get. So when it pops up into there, here's 5150. Now and let's just zoom in here because we don't have anything on the show if we don't have integrity. So we talked about making a wick top on AMC, on GME, but it was AMD. That was what I forgot. So as we go short into this, just baby shares here into opening range high, because again, we moved down about $2, bumped back into the opening range high, so we started the short. We weren't even worried at all. Then we started putting on real shares up here at 5150, and unfortunately, we have to have an out Adara, and that was at 52. But look what happened as soon as we got out. It came right back in, right into the levels of 5150. So thankfully, we actually reshorted.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
that was good. Thank you. Nice move back in. Then we shorted it again. Boom, back down into the downside. So made all this money back. Shorted it again. Took a little bit out. Then got stopped. Let this thing run. And then this is really where a lot of the money was made. We reshorted into 152.50. So bring it all the way back. 150.95. Like that's a $1.50 winner. Get stopped out there. Get stopped out there. Back into this again. So what was just a long day for us wounds up in a nice short at the final top. A bunch of battles back. Didn't really trade this one properly, but AMD again winds up a green stock, but very, very frustrating at the end of the day there. there for that. And then look, just to review quickly before we let everyone go, it's 4:35. GameStop here in the after hours continues to go. I mean, we were long right there, $42, Adara.
That's a great.
We got out at 47. It's now 54. Those of you that heard me talk about this, I said we got to get long GameStop into the close. I mean, there it is, taking out $54. Let's go. Let's see what AMC is doing before we let you go. AMC 750, very similar actions there into the close. Adara, in 3 words, how was this day?
Wild, unpredictable. Oh, yeah, bamboozling. I'm going to let Ramin pick the last word, bamboozling. Thank you, Ramin.
I like that. Your 3 words right there. Join us tomorrow. We're going to take it easy. You know, won't yell. You know, I was going to say won't yell at the kids. I never really yell at the kids. But my throat is, leave that to the wife. Throat's got to come back here. We'll be back tomorrow. It should be another wild day.
I'm excited.
I mean, we're not stopping.
Oh, no.
Like,
Oh,
so
no.
tonight, like, you just want to, like, you know, put down, lay that head down, think about GME, think about AMC, and think about Trader TV Live.
That was a great send-off. That was awesome.
We will see everybody tomorrow at Trader TV Shawn, at Trader TV Adara. See you tomorrow at 8:30. Ciao, everybody.
Night.